Hi everyone, Cindy Turner here, creator of Evolving Women. And I have created a 40-week feature featuring fabulous women who are empowering women in the world in their own unique way. And today I have with me the lovely Tash Lawton. But before we dive in and I introduce you to her, I'd like to share a little bit about her background. She's an incredible woman with a background in media and has been working in that space for over 20 years. And she's also a mum of 2 teenagers. She has produced and shot films in India, Nepal, US, Cambodia, Malaysia, and the UK. She has produced a video-based menstruation education program called Period Talk to break down the stigma of menstruation. This program is nationally recognized and currently running in schools around Australia. And she has another 7 topics soon to be released. Welcome, Tash. I'd love to have a conversation with you a bit more about Period Talk. How are you today?
Good. Yeah, good. Thanks. Really good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Super awesome. So let's dive in. What inspired you to actually create this program called Period Talk?
It was kind of an accident, I think, as some people's periods are, I guess. And I realised that there was just very little on the subject. There was very little on the topic. People will get a bit weird and freaked out and uncomfortable when you start talking about it. And then I started to kind of, look into it a little bit more and understand that there's nothing that exists to normalize and talk about it in a way that is going to help lift what I believe to be shame and stigma that a lot of women carry around the topic. And that needs to start at a very young age.
And was there something that particularly triggered you around this for yourself, or was it with your children that helped to give you the idea that there was a need in this way?
I was making a film about periods, a documentary, and I went overseas and I was talking to women in India and Nepal and doing that very kind of, white privileged, middle class, I'm going to go and save the developing world, and, they clearly can't know what they're doing. And when I got home, I realised that was such an ignorant approach to take, because in actual fact, even though in the developing world they're not educated about it, what they are is actually proud of, I guess, and they really have an appreciation of why they bleed and what periods are for, to give life. Like, we wouldn't be sat here having this conversation if periods didn't exist. Yeah. And I realised very quickly that when I came back to Australia, that in fact the Western culture from a Western society, even though we know about periods, we're really grossed out. A lot of people, that's generalising, a lot of people are really grossed out by it. Nobody had a conversation with them about it. They didn't know what to do. Some people, thought that they bled blue because they've been watching adverts for years of the blue blood being poured or the blue water. So it was kind of a combination of everything. And then I have a daughter. She hadn't yet got her period, and I went, well, when she gets it, I want to make sure that she doesn't feel grossed out, that it doesn't affect her femininity. And that I can hopefully try and give her the best experience around that critical moment when I guess, that's the first biggest change that a female experiences.
So what's your primary aim in having created this program? What's your vision for it?
I want to get every kid normalizing the conversation, and that's boys and girls, around periods. In Australia, ultimately the world, obviously. But I want everybody just being normal about it. I don't want people to, there's people suffering with pain, there's people suffering with all sorts of weird and wonderful things connected to their periods that they're embarrassed to talk about, or they go to a doctor and the doctor said, you just got your period, so get on with it. Empowering women to understand their own bodies, to take responsibility so that they can actually understand what's going on for them and not necessarily have to hand that over or be dictated to or be told by, doctors or the system that they actually don't know themselves, because understanding your cycle really does put you in touch with you as a woman, and having boys understanding the cycle gives you the support of the men when you're in your cycle. It just makes sense to me. It's so simple. It's such a simple yet such a complicated and shrouded topic.
And in this video series, are you the teacher, or is there others that are the teachers?
No, I am definitely not the teacher. I don't consider myself to be a teacher, neither do I consider myself an expert. I feel like, I'm a conduit. I'm the vehicle that this messaging comes through. And because I decided to aim it at kids, because I realised that that's where the conversation needs to start, like super, super early, they're not going to listen to me. They're going to listen to crusty 40-odd woman. Like, it's not going to come from me. So I went, I wonder if I use kids, but they say the right stuff, and get them to deliver the information so then they can connect with their audience. And that seems to have been an absolute winning formula. Yeah.
So the kids are actually, through conversation, the teachers of the program.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happens. Yeah.
Oh. And I believe that you've built this program in consultation with the education system in Australia.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I'm not a teacher. This information gets taught through the HP curriculum. So teachers have to talk about periods, or they have to talk about menstruation at some point. So for me, it was important that I included HP teachers in the conversation and in the pulling together of the program itself. They wrote the activities, they wrote the teachers' notes. It's 100% with teachers around Australia.
So you've actually achieved national recognition for this program around Australia and all the states and territories.
Yeah.
And you've now rolled this program out across the entire country in every state and territory as well.
Yes.
Which is
not enough though. It's not enough. It's not enough schools. I need more.
Okay.
And the other thing I should say as well, like schools, it's for schools and it's for parents, because this information needs to be taught by someone somewhere. Teachers might be uncomfortable, parents might be uncomfortable. Teachers think it's the parents' responsibility. Parents think it should be taught at school. So, I've kind of tried to do the pencil approach and come at it from all angles.
So you're delivering this program through the schools, but what if a parent was watching this video and thought, well, how can I get my hands on it? Is it available to individual families as well?
Yeah. So if a parent wanted to get it and sit down and have that conversation with their own kids, then that's an option. But otherwise, schools. And the other thing, it's parents suggesting to their schools as well that they take the program on board. But it's still such an uncomfortable conversation for some people, Cindy. Like, it blows me away, the stories. And you'd have a story? Do you have a story around your first period? Do you remember it? Do you remember how it got dealt with?
It was basically, what's happening? And I went to my mum and she's like, we've got your period. But I had swimming lessons that night. She's like, stick one of these in, off you go. And it was like, there was no skipping a beat. It was just get on. So there was no sort of acknowledgement or celebration of you've become a woman, and I think, if I had my time again, it would have been really nice to at least be able to take pause and acknowledge that moment, because it's a significant moment.
It's a really significant moment.
And then to have some education around it. I mean, I had none through the school where I went, and, mum was supportive and she was able to talk about it. But in the lead up to, I had no sense that was coming. I had no awareness of it at all. So certainly one that sort of hit me between the eyes for sure. But for many women, it may be more traumatic than that. Unfortunately, I had a mum that I could talk to about it, but, she just saw it as an everyday thing that just get on.
Yeah.
So, but for each woman, it's a different experience, and, to help with that education around it for them. But what I love about your program too, Tash, is that you're helping to educate the boys as well, because they play a part in this too.
They play a massive part, and I feel like they get a bit of a rough deal, actually, the boys in this, because, you know, there's jokes and they can be coming across as, you know, like insensitive, but they're only doing that because they have got no idea. It's not because, you know, they're all just assholes. Like they just don't have any education. You don't know what you don't know. So without actually teaching them and explaining it to them and making it normal and not making it like the thing that kind of only girls talk about, I believe that will help. It'll help better. You know, I think there's heaps of single dads. How do they deal with it when their daughter gets their period? You know, like there was research that said that the one thing that girls wished that their fathers did when they got their periods was to be able to acknowledge it, talk about it, and if they needed to, go to the shop and buy them whatever it was that they need. So, you know, it's an important conversation that does involve men. It's men to understand the differences and the different physical differences as well.
What age group are you targeting for your program in the schools?
It starts in year 5, which is 9-year-olds, 8, 9, and it goes through to year 10, because girls as young as 8 are starting to get their periods now. It's young. Like, that's young. You're a kid. You're a child still.
What sort of feedback have you been getting so far about those schools that have trialled your program?
Well, I feel like, I mean, I'm not making this up, because they've honestly all, and these are all the ones that I've asked and all the ones that have given feedback, they've all loved it. They've all just said, you know, it's really, it's great because of the kids teaching the kids, so that helps them with the icebreaker. It makes it really easy for them to deliver the content. It's fun. It's like really practical. It's normal. I think that's probably the biggest part. They've just gone, it really is normal. Just having a normal conversation about this topic, and that they wouldn't change anything about it. Like, I keep kind of, are you sure? There must be something, but no.
It's great feedback, and it's really helping to educate and inform both the boys and the girls in the schools.
Yeah, and that was absolutely another point, actually, that they love the fact that the boys are in it, to make it inclusive and to take away all that weirdness that happens.
Yeah, great. So what advice would you give to a parent who may be watching this video and thinking, well, how can I find out more? How can I get involved? How can I get my school to take this up?
I think, first of all, you need to kind of appreciate that you need to be having, whether it's using period talk or it's not, you need to be having a conversation with your kids, and you need to be having it, I'm sorry, sooner than you probably think and probably feel comfortable or would like to be having it. That would be my number one. That's been the biggest thing that I've learned through doing this. And then, you know, if you feel like you're ready to have the conversation and you'd like to do it at home and it's something that you want to do and involve your kids with, then there is the parent program. Alternatively, yeah, you can go and talk to your P&C, go and talk to the principal and tell them that you reckon that they need to be putting this program into schools.
So where can people find out more information about your program, Tash?
Good old World Wide Web, periodtalk.com.au.
Awesome, super stuff. Well, I wish you all the best with this program, and I'd love to know what are the other programs that you're going to be releasing in future? Because obviously these are courageous conversations around topics that are a little more sticky to have. So what are the other topics you've got coming on board?
There's another 7 topics. I mean, the first one was an accident, and then I realised that when I was younger, I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home. There were lots of not normal things that were going on that were then never talked about. And I know that I made a lot of dodgy choices in my life based on the fact that I had no information, no conversations, or was misinformed about stuff. So having 2 teenagers, I lost a brother to suicide when he was 19. I feel like the need for conversations around sex, drugs, alcohol, gender-based violence, domestic violence, eating disorders, sexuality, they're the next lot that are coming, that are going to be delivered in the same vein. That's by kids, for kids, video-based. And again, it's not supposed to be about sensationalizing stuff. It's not a fear thing. It's not to make everybody go, oh my God, everyone's going to be a drug addict, or it's normalize these conversations, and people will, I honestly believe, be able to make way more informed, smarter choices.
Love your work, Tash, and I love that you're actually going there and having the conversations that many people are afraid to have. So good on you. Well done.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you so much for your time today, Tash. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And until we meet again, that's a wrap for today.